exam 9 times due to lack of school fees to progress to secondary school. And that's Matthew Nyamlori, and he'll be telling us his story as to why he took the KCPE exams 9 times but now is in university.
NTV Weekend Edition with Rubadiri.
Welcome to the broadcast. Our sign language interpreter this evening is David Agundoa. We begin with some tragic news, and 6 people, among them 3 children, have this morning perished in an accident involving a lorry and a matatu near Mariakani on the Mombasa-Nairobi highway.
Kaloleni OCPD Kennedy Osando says the accident happened when the truck's driver, who was heading to Mombasa, tried to overtake on a steep section of the road, only to hit the matatu, which was heading to Voi from Mombasa.
Kufika hapo karibu kotini, kukawa kuna roli zinakuja, moja iko mbele na moja iko nyuma. Hii ya nyuma, hii ya mbele ilipopita, hii ya nyuma ikaanza kuingia kamba inaenda SGR. Sasa mimi nilivyoiona nikahepa, lakini kawa imenifikia ikaanza kunigonga ubavu.
The matatu driver is said to have tried to evade the impact, but the lorry followed it and smashed its right rear side.
So far, 2 are seriously admitted at the Coast General Hospital. 1 is admitted in a stable condition. The rest are at Mariakani Sub-County District Hospital undergoing treatment.
Hawajali gari ndogo na hawajali gari za PSV. Naweza ona dereva all of a sudden anafunga emergency, ana overtake mbio, angali clearance distance ambao ana overtake.
A woman succumbed to her injuries on the way to hospital, but others in critical condition are recuperating at the Coast General Hospital. In total, there were 6 fatalities, 3 women and 3 children aged between 2 and 6. All the bodies have been taken to the Coast General Hospital. The OCPD asked drivers to be careful on the road, especially during this rainy season. He says that the police will increase surveillance along the highway to tame rogue drivers flouting traffic rules. Leila Mohammed, NTV.
And political battles between Kirinyaga Governor Anne Waiguru and the county's women representative Purity Ngirichi have ruptured into the open after an incident where the governor was heckled at a function presided over by Deputy President William Ruto on Friday. Waiguru accused Ngirichi, her political rival, of organizing the heckling in the event, an allegation the woman rep denies. And as Brenda Wanga reports, the matter could soon land in court.
It was meant to have been a development tour of parts of Kirinyaga County. Deputy President William Ruto, joined by the county governor and women representative amongst other leaders. It turned into a political showdown between the 2 county leaders. The governor now claims the heckling wasn't a random occurrence. She is accusing Ngirichi and her husband of organizing the youth to cause disturbance.
It is very, very unfortunate, and she cannot claim that she did not. Yet you can ask any leader in Kirinyaga, she admitted it, that before even the meeting we told her, we hear you're planning to do this. Please don't do it when the deputy president is here. And I was not alone. So if she wants to challenge it, we have witnesses of where she said the reason why she thought she was mobilizing. And we said, please stand your people down. According to Waiguru, Ngirichi hired people who were armed to cause chaos at the meeting. We want that question answered by the security forces. Because now we are hearing the security forces have started arresting our supporters who did nothing. And yet the people who had knives during that function, who were intimidating people, who were shouting, who are hooligans, no one has been arrested. The woman rep, however, has denied these allegations. At no time was His Excellency the Deputy President booed in Kirinyaga County. And the maker of the statement should be asked why that they want to include and bring into localized politics the name and the office of the Deputy President. The woman rep also faults the governor for involving her family in their differences. I would only wish that any person wishing to involve anybody's family
they should know that we always have lines that are not articulated, but I would say that do not involve any politician's families in your anything that you want to say about them or in your attacks against any politician.
Waiguru further castigates the woman rep for practicing what she terms as archaic politics of ensuring that people are impoverished in order to have them depend on handouts from the rich. She further accuses the legislator of using security personnel in the county to shield her from accounting for her actions.
Not sit as Kirinyaga people and watch our people being victimized while they are taking money from people who are protected because they have money. The question of are they untouchable, we want that answer from the people responsible for security in this county, and we will make a formal complaint.
Ngirishi, on the other hand, says the governor should not hide from the problems, adding that a recent EACC survey that placed Kirinyaga in the top 5 category of the most corrupt counties in the country is what the governor should be dealing with.
The statement that was made yesterday was brazen attempt to divert the attention of the people of Kirinyaga from the real issues, such as the claims of corruption and developments promised that have not been delivered.
The two leaders haven't been seeing eye to eye for a while now, with each accusing the other of engaging in 2022 politics before time. Ngirishi now says she is suing the governor over the accusations she leveled against her. Brenda Wanga, NTV.
Now, the National Police Service has positively identified and is in the process of taking action against an officer captured on video assaulting an individual. The officer was identified during investigations into the incident, and via the official NPS Twitter page, the service has urged the unidentified man who was seen taking a beating from the officer to present himself to the Nairobi area police commander to record a statement that will facilitate in the officer's trial in a court of law. Sources tell NTV that the officer under investigation could be the driver of the Makadara OCPD stationed at the Industrial Area Police Station. Well, the video of the officer surfaced on social media early Friday, much to the anger and disappointment of many Kenyans who felt that despite the circumstances of trying to apprehend a suspected criminal, his actions were unwarranted. 50 billion shillings. That is the amount that the Kenya Revenue Authority could gain if court cases it has instituted over the last 12 months against tax evaders go its way. The authority is now sharpening its focus on intelligence gathering and investing in manpower towards that end to enable it to seal the technological loopholes that savvy but rogue traders are using to avoid paying tax. Here's Alex Mwangi with this exclusive story.
Even with last year's general election, the Kenya Revenue Authority expects to achieve revenue growth of between 10 and 12% in the current financial year. In the 2016-2017 financial year, the authority collected 1.365 trillion shillings, up 13.8% from 1.21 trillion shillings collected the previous year. This was an addition of 155 billion shillings. As KRA looks for ways and means of growing revenue collection, it is interesting to note that in the corridors of justice alone, it might be able to collect almost a third of that amount.
We've been quite successful because over the last 1 year, we've been able to profile cases that we are now following through, where we suspect that tax in the region of about 50 billion has not been paid.
The authority has recruited about 100 investigators in the last 1 year, with the process of recruiting ahead of prosecution currently underway. These officials will work under the Intelligence and Strategic Cooperations Department, which KRA set up last year.
You cannot tackle business crime, you cannot tackle tax fraud and tax evasion without proper investment in intelligence. And that is why it has become a very, very primary focus for us. We already know that it is creating very, very, very significant apprehension out there, and even internally.
KRA's investment in technology, such as that at the Integrated Scanner Command Center ISCC, which enables the real-time viewing of trailers' cargo being scanned in Mombasa, is helping to reduce cases of underdeclaration and misdeclaration of goods.
The focus one is assorted goods for commercial value, some liquid vegetable oil.
The Regional Electronic Cargo Tracking System Monitoring Center gives KRA officials in Nairobi a bird's eye view of trucks transporting cargo from the port of Mombasa into the hinterland and vice versa. The system is currently in use in Kenya, Uganda, and Rwanda.
In essence, three of us are watching the same track, so even if somebody sleeps, the other two are watching.
It turns out, however, that on closer inspection, the system has some loopholes that are yet to be addressed. Take, for instance, the fact that the most recent location of one of the trucks whose details were sought for was an update that was sent more than 48 hours before.
This was 2nd of April 2018. This is when it last transmitted. So it must be somewhere along the corridor, but this is where it was when it lost the transmission. So the issue now is that date is not today, then we need to check exactly where the date is.
An attempt to explain the reason for the failure to get the most recent location update exposed the weaknesses of the system.
So this track must have lost transmission along the way, but it didn't bring any alert because there was no tampering. So what we need to do is to check that scene where it is exactly. We can have a look at it, just as we can check.
As we did then has shown the
what we are using the system. We want the system to show us when they lose the transmission, we should be able to bring an alert automatically. Yes. That's what we told the developer and us.
Over the last decade, KRA's annual revenue collections have grown by an average of 14%. Alex Mwangi, NTV.
And more details on that exclusive report in the Sunday Nation. Ensure that you get a copy tomorrow. Now, there are renewed calls for the implementation of the recommendations of the Presidential Task Force on Parastatal Reforms that would allow for better structured appointments to state corporations and parastatals. Now, the appointments currently made at the discretion of the president have been criticized as being used to reward political friends without attention to proper qualifications needed.
By the stroke of the pen, President Uhuru Kenyatta in a Gazette notice appointed a number of people to various planned positions, most of them in state corporations.
How can I denounce them?
The immediate former Attorney General Githu Muigai landed at the Council for Legal Education, while the former Machakos County Speaker Bernard Muteti is a new chairman for the Industrial and Commercial Development Corporation, while Mutea Iringo, former PS, is the new chairperson of the National Cereals and Produce Board.
If you were in my shoes at that particular time, what could you have done better than what we did?
Former Inspector General of Police David Kimaiyo also landed at the Kenyatta National Hospital as a non-executive chairperson of the hospital's board. These appointments follow a well-beaten path, one where merit plays second fiddle to qualifications, an issue that governance experts say is worrying.
Some of these current nominations are on political patronage basis and nothing else. Now, political patronage is something that the Constitution 2010 sought to address by creating all the principles and values that I've enumerated.
While the Constitution empowers the President to exercise discretion in making these appointments, there is a growing school of thought that there should be a more structured approach to making these appointments.
The recent appointments, most of them are made under the State Corporation Act, under Article 5, Section 5 of the State Corporation Act. Now, what emerges is that the State Corporation Act predates the Constitution 2010. And it is apparent and clear that the State Corporations Act has not been aligned to the constitutional principles, leaving wide discretion that is unchecked without any system of determining the criteria deployed. Now, appointments made under Section 5 of the State Corporations Act are such that the President needs only to provide a name and the duration, which can either be 5 years or any other lesser duration as provided for in the Act.
the call for a review of the appointment criteria isn't a new one. Indeed, when the Jubilee government took over in 2013, the president formed a task force that was charged with reforming government parastatals. The task force identified the absence of a clear framework for recruitment, selection and appointment for boards of state corporations, as well as a lack of uniformity in the application of appointment procedures. The recommendations emanating from that report are yet to be implemented. Governance experts insist that the lack of clear guidelines often leave these corporations in the hands of unqualified people at the helm, and the result of this is the deterioration of these agencies.
The executive itself appreciated the lacuna that exists, and that in itself poses a great challenge, because we are all alive to the fact that state corporations have performed dismally, most of them.
While the recommendations of that task force await Parliament to enact relevant laws to make them effective, it would appear that the planned jobs will continue to be the perfect rewards for political failures and allies of the powers that be. Brenda Wanga, NTV.
And away from that, Bungoma Senator Moses Wetangula has announced what he calls a political divorce with ODM leader Raila Odinga, citing betrayal. Wetangula says the former Prime Minister does not deserve any further support from the Mulembe nation. Well, this happening as Kakamega Governor Wycliffe Oparanya announced his intentions to occupy the highest political office in the country in 2022.
For the Kenya party leader Moses Wetangula was speaking in Mukhoya village in Bungoma County during a funeral ceremony. He said Raila Odinga not only turned his back on Moses but the entire Mulembe nation when he allowed his ouster as Senate Minority Leader. Wetangula says it was a mistake to back Odinga in previous elections and that this was the last time Raila would get his support.
And for my friend Raila, mimi sina chuki na wewe, lakini safari yetu na wewe imekwisha. Mimi sasa niko na safari yangu. Na mimi nataka kuomba watu wetu, kuna wengine wanamdanganya, atakuje apitie kwa kichwa ya Weta, apitie kwa kichwa ya Mudavadi, akuje direct to you. Tunamwambia kila mtu ana kwake na ana watu wake.
Wetangula further defended the move to merge Ford Kenya and Musalia Mudavadi's ANC parties, insisting that it would be a major boost and the true beginning of the longed-for Luhya unity.
Raila alipiga Wamalwa, tukamsamehe, tukampa kura. Sasa amerudi, amechapa wewe. We can't allow our community to be the ladder on which people climb to the top, na wakifika kuko juu wanaanza kutukojolea hapa chini. Hiyo hatutakubali. Na mimi nawaomba ndugu zetu, nyinyi mjue ile fimbo Raila amenichapa juzi ni ile alichapa Wamalwa aliporuka akaenda akawa vice president. Akachapa Kalonzo aliporuka akaenda akawa vice president. Akachapa Ruto aliporuka, sasa yeye ni vice president. Sasa amechapa Weta, mimi nitaruka hata kuliko wale watatu.
But in what could be seen as a blow to the Luhya unity bid, Kakamega Governor Wycliffe Oparanya has announced his presidential bid. Oparanya, who was addressing his supporters at Bungoma bus stage, says other leaders from the region have failed. Thus, it is his right time to vie for presidency after his second term as Kakamega Governor is over.
Mimi siko adui wa mtu yoyote. Na mimi nimeketi chini na Wetangula, nimeketi chini na Musalia, wamejua nia yangu. Na hao wakiwa na bahati wakienda mbele, na nyinyi mkaona hao ndio wataweza, mimi nitawaunga mkono. Na hao wakiona Oparanya ndio anaweza, naomba waniunge mkono. Tayari mimi nimeomba kirasmi Raila Amolo Odinga pia naye aniunge mkono. Mambo ya urais mara ngapi? Mara 3. Na wakati huu sasa nimesema pia mimi nimeiba.
Zakis Masani, NTV, Bungoma.
18 minutes past the hour, we take our first break here on NTV Weekend Edition. Much more ahead, including
amekuwa na kazi yake kufanya kwa bidii.
The man who took the KCPE exam 9 times due to lack of school fees to progress to secondary school.
Smirnoff JB and Black and White presents 5-2.
Welcome back. Now, education is touted as the key to success. So what does it take to get that key? For Matthew Nyamlori, a second-year student at Kenyatta University, it took sitting the Kenya Certificate of Primary Education, or KCPE, exams 9 times. He would join high school and drop out to go back to primary school because of lack of school fees. NTV's Namukabo Werunga caught up with Matthew's family in Nyakach, Kisumu County to get the backstory.
Matthew's elderly and blind mother tells us how he has always been a hard-working boy with a strong desire to get education. They barely had enough money for food, let alone school fees. But she tells us Matthew was always happy going to school on bare feet and a hungry stomach.
Sisi nakaa kwa nyumba ingine hapa ndile naweka na juala. Kwa maana mimi nilikuwa nafanya kibarua kwa balelia mahindi ya hawa, alafu napata mahindi hawa nakula.
At some point, Matthew and his brother were forced to live with family friends to lessen the burden on their parents. They lived in different towns, including Kericho and Homa Bay. The family friends would at least ensure the siblings had a roof over their head and something to eat. Seeing their children yearn for education and unable to offer them the opportunities was hard enough for the parents. But the most trying moment was when Matthew became overwhelmed with the lack of school fees. He had just dropped out of Maseno School in Form 2 and went back to Class 8.
Kwa nakaa mgonjwa ya kichwa, juu ya kusenguka, paka nakuwa simu. Paka hii, nalala tu chini ya gari. Mimi naanza kuenda kutafuta najua tumbo ya mama ya kusa. Mimi naenda msena tu mimi. Naenda paka mimi naingiza kwa kanisa ingine hapo naitwa Dondwaru wa Kichanga. Mimi naomba huko, naombea hii mtoto yangu kwa usuda sana. Mimi naomba kutoka asubuhi paka saa 1 usiku. Paka hiyo mtoto yangu Mungu naponesha. Sasa ndio naanza kusoma mpaka sai.
Thomas Nyamlori, Matthew's father, says his son has always had a strong opinion and has never shied away from speaking his mind. But this has always come alongside hard work and excellence in school. Locals who remember Matthew say that he is a hard-working man, a man with an insatiable quest for education, a quest that took him 13 years longer to join university. Namukabo Werunga, NTV, Nyakach.
Now, when we use or hear the phrase defying all odds, do we truly know what it means? Well, for 31-year-old Matthew Nyamlori, it's a living testament to that phrase. We chanced upon Matthew Nyamlori on Thursday as we set about showing the impact of the ongoing lecturers' strike. He is what you call a story in a story, and quite a story at that. Well, Matthew sat the Kenya Certificate of Primary Education exam not once, not twice, but 9 times. Your first question might be why? Well, before we get an answer to that question, let's take a walk down memory lane and look at Matthew's experience taking the KCPE exams. His first attempt was in 1998 while attending a primary school in Bomet. He scored 472 of 700 and was to join a high school. But lack of school fees became a barrier. His second attempt was at Rongo Primary School in 1999. He scored 559 and was admitted at Kanga High School. Again, lack of school fees saw him drop out in 2001. But in 2002, he was encouraged to go back to Class 8, after which he made his third attempt at Kitere Primary School and scored 387. The system had changed by then to 5 examinable subjects. Well, he was to join Rapogi High School in Migori, but the persistent fees issue once again stood in his way. His fourth time was in 2003 when he scored 399, and fifth time in 2004 scoring 434. He joined Maseno School in 2005 but had to drop out in Form 2 in 2006 when school fees balance proved to be too burdensome. Now, the following year in 2007, Matthew looked for scholarships but in vain. Now, in his sixth attempt in 2008 at Agoro Sare Primary School, it saw him score 397 that earned him admission to Maranda High School. Lack of school fees, again, the barrier to his educational advancement. Now, Matthew was determined, however, and made a seventh attempt in 2009, sitting his KCPE exam at Aldo Rebi Academy in Narok and scored 401. He was admitted to Kapsabet High, but fees again an issue. His eighth attempt was 8 years ago in 2010 at Agape Junior Academy, where he scored 403 and was admitted again to Maranda High School in Bondo. He could not afford, or rather to attend, due to finances that were not available. In 2011, the ninth boy born in his family made his ninth attempt at Oriri Primary School and scored 403. This was his breakthrough after he was admitted to Nairobi School. Fortunately, the Equity Bank Wing Fly Scholarship Program stepped in and paid for Matthew's high school education. He sat for his KCSE in 2015 and scored a B+. He is now a second-year student at Kenyatta University pursuing a degree in public policy and administration, and joins me now in studio. Matthew, thank you so much for coming in. Let me tell you, I'm listening to your story, going through, researching, and what you've been through would break the spirit of so many people. What kept you going to keep taking the test 9 times?
What kept me going was the environment. When I look at those who have gone to school and compare to the casual laborers, it encouraged me, and I could see somebody who is doing a good job, a graduate, when you compare him with a casual laborer, a Mujengo, because most of the time I was doing Mujengo for my survival. That person was a bit higher, and it could make the things life easy compared to the other guy who dropped out of school. Also to that, being that I was born in a poor background, also encouraged me, because the elder brothers and sisters never stepped in high school. The only brother, the one Michael, the one I'm following, is currently a teacher at Georgia Senior School Preparatory, but he got assisted with the Stare Boy Center. He went to Stare Boy Center. After that, he joined University of Nairobi, but he's teaching there.
So only 2 of you out of your family
no, my fellow also went through a day school under the scholarship of the local church. He's a police officer in Mwingi currently. He was taken there in the year 2014.
So did you ever feel like giving up? I can imagine now you're 31, your friends, people you grew up with, you know, probably married, children, they have jobs. Did you ever feel like giving up?
I'm 31 because I was reducing the age due to the renewal, but I think I am around 35. But I couldn't give them the listening, because what pushed me was my life. I was seeing the standard of my life, because when somebody would visit me, is saying, I'm going to visit Matthew Nyamlori, not any other person. So I couldn't see that my peers have married and I'm not married. So what encouraged me is what kept me moving was my life. I was seeing that in future, what would I have done in life? And will I give back to the other communities who are suffering? Because most of the time we were doing casual work in Kipsigis. I can speak 2 dialects, fluent Kipsigis and the Luo, because we stayed there for a long time.
And I really wonder, because I mean, that took an amazing amount of focus for you to ignore other factors and circumstances of people who you literally grew up with. But when it comes to your living conditions during those 9 years. I'm just really curious to know, how did you survive? Because you mentioned you did a lot of casual labor jobs.
I first of all, I never wanted to stress my dad and mom, so I moved away from them. So whenever I was repeating, I could decide and go and repeat. So when I was at Rongo, it is good. Rongo is a good place. There are sugarcane. So you see, at lunchtime, we could go to sugarcane plantation, so that one I could have that for lunch. Over the weekend, I do mujenga, I get 300. I used to buy the donuts. We call it donuts or kangumu. So I could use it from Monday to Friday in the evening. But lunchtime, we could go to sugarcane plantation and take some sugarcane. Those one was enough sucrose to keep us moving, to keep me personally moving.
My goodness, I'm just thinking, sugarcane for lunch. You know, most people would have given up at a point, thinking it's not worth it. You know, and I'm just wondering, in terms of support from family, you had to also move around. You took your KCPE exams in different counties.
Yes.
Why was this? Why did you move around so much?
Because, you know, humiliation from your peers. You were the best. You have performed well. When you go back to the same primary, psychologically you won't be stable. When you go to a new environment, they will see you. I remember towards 2011, 2010 now, we could move for round testing. So I used to wear a long trouser on top of a short whenever we are moving out of the compound of the school. After reaching the nearest bush, I remove a trouser, I go and write my test. I used to excel, I used to be the best in those times. Then because I was just avoiding humiliation from the people who don't understand that education is the key to success.
I mean, you're really showing the importance of pursuing education. Now you're a second-year student in Kenyatta University.
Yes.
So the story has turned to something more positive. I'm sure your parents are very proud. We saw them in the story previously. But why did you decide to keep with the concentration you're on now, the degree that you're following?
My degree is also related to the community development, or also the administration, managing something. So I wanted to pursue a case whereby I will get in touch with the community. I can be an administrator, taking care of other orphans, taking care of other needy, because not all orphans are needy. We have those who are needy and have the parents. So I decided to pursue the course because it is a course which also teaches the social science, the development of social science. So you get to know how to manage different people in the society.
And lastly, as we wrap up, what are your future plans, and what would you say to a child watching now? They're out of school because they can't afford the fees. What would you tell them?
What I could tell them, that God, the end will justify the means. God is the final judgment. Your situation should not deter you from pursuing your dream. The situation you are going through. I remember one time I used to stay in a bathroom, somebody's bathroom, because I could not pay rent. So in the evening I go and sleep in a bathroom outside. Then in the morning I just go to a sugarcane plantation. I rush to school and write my exams. And I used just to play with the pupils as normal. I know some could even wonder, as old as you are almost the age mate of my dad. You are still in school, but it could not deter me from pursuing my dream. I'd also say that now, at least now, we have so many scholarships. I could also congratulate Dr. James Mwangi, the CEO Equity, and Mr. Tom Kuyo, who came for me, who took me to one of the Wings to Fly scholars, and they sponsored me in Nairobi school. And now that I can speak to the world that life is what you make it. Don't despair.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Matthew. Wise words, and you are such an inspiration to so many that if you keep fighting, you will indeed make it. And what strikes me about you is you still have a heart to help people despite what you went through in your life. So thank you so much.
I still have a heart to help people because I was also elected last year. I'm the congressperson, Kilimambogo Hostel. I'm one of the COSA Congress, 14 Congress. So you see, you can get a
So will we see politics in your future?
Definitely, if God allows, I'll also be in the politics. If it is fair, not bloody politics.
Right.
I need a fair politics where you play your games and your cards well, where you assist the real people who are suffering in the community.
Great, thank you so much. We'll see whether that name turns into Honorable Senator or Governor Nyamlori. Thank you so much for your time.
Name Governor, so probably I might be the next governor now.
There you go, speaking into your future. Thank you so much. On that note, let's take a short break. We'll be right back with much more. Welcome back. Now, 26 couples tied the knot during a mass wedding held at Assumption of Mary Catholic Church in Umoja. The newlyweds said they opted for the mass wedding to avoid being burdened by the financial demands associated with contemporary weddings. Take a look.
It was a great affair at Assumption of Mary Catholic Church in Umoja Estate as 26 brides walked down the aisle. The mass wedding was a sight to behold as the brides stood out in their unique gowns. The event, which was well attended, was full of pomp and color. Some couples were beginning their married life, while others were renewing their vows. The church was filled to capacity, with bridesmaids and groomsmen stood by the couples. There was also plenty of dancing and singing. In a spectacular manner, the couples walked to the pulpit to exchange their vows as their relatives and friends simmered with joy. The ceremony saw 26 couples exchange marital vows as congregates cheered merrily.
I, Professor Wayne, thank you, Madam Seven, my Lord, wedded wife.
The newlyweds said they opted for the mass wedding to avoid being burdened by the financial demands associated with contemporary weddings.
I'm happy today. I've been waiting for this day, and also I wanted to make my marriage holy through the church. It's really cost effective, and I think even the butterflies in the stomach, you kind of share the fear. So when you're many on the stage, it's a bit fair, it's better.
Niliona nifanye harusi ya kanisa kwa sababu nilikuwa nimefanya harusi ya traditional.
In a public gathering over the weekend, Kiambu woman representative Gadhoni Mushumba made headlines for advocating for polygamy.
We are so pretentious today, and our pretentious lifestyle is what is costing us these problems we have today. So if polygamous is what is going to sort us out, let's go there. Kwani wale ambao wameshikilia mabibi watano 10 wamekufa?
Sijui kama sisi tukiwa wanaume hilo jambo limetufurahisha ama limetukera. Nasikia tu ni akina mama wanasema. Asini wacha niulize hili swali na njia nyingine. Na kama angesema bibi wawe na mabwana wengi, lingekuwa la kufurahisha au la kukera? Na Mungu alikuwa na mpango wa binadamu, na ndiposa akasema mwenyewe kwa masomo yetu, mke na mume waje pamoja wawe nini? Kitu kimoja. Sijasikia kukiwa na nafasi ya kuongezea wawili.
Polygamy is offensive to some cultures, for it is forbidden in the Catholic Church.
No. We didn't want any competition. It brings conflict.
I'm married in the Catholic Church.
To one wife.
And of course married to one wife. So of course polygamy, we don't support it based on our Christian beliefs and values.
I wouldn't even want to imagine it. Bringing in a second wife? No.
Assumption of Mary Catholic Church in Umoja organizes the event every year to cut costs and combat expenses for the bride and groom during the wedding for catering, venue and decorations. Rozungwe, NTV.
All right, let's take another short break here on NTV Weekend Edition. Much more ahead. Stay with us. Welcome back into some sad news for the NTV family. Nation TV correspondent Paul Mudegu was today laid to rest in his home in Chepkanga Turbo constituency. The late had worked for a long time as a correspondent in the broadcast industry before his death on the 26th of March at the Kenyatta National Hospital, where he was admitted briefly. He had been diagnosed with a heart condition in September 2017. Mudegu is survived by a widow, 6 children, and 4 grandchildren.
Knew you as a wonderful gift from God because of your good caring nature, your strength as a wonderful man and a father to the children. May God bless you.
Always remember, Paul had such a gentle spirit. Every time you saw him in the newsroom, he will indeed be missed. May he rest in peace. On that note, let's take a short break. What's in Karuma up next for the sports news.
Welcome to NTV Sport. I'm Watson Karuma. Saturday was a mixed day for Kenya in boxing, weightlifting and lone bulls at the Commonwealth Games. Nation Sports editor Elias Makori was ringside for the boxing action, while National Olympic Committee President Paul Tergat graced NTV's Top Sport and spoke of support for the fringe sports. Team Kenya will begin its medal hunt on Sunday as the athletics program kicks off.
A big margin.
Stephen Wanyama had 2 of the 100 meters freestyle, clocking 53 points. Kosa finished 10th and Billy Okoth placed 10th in the men's 77 kg and 163 kg competitions. Harika Manji's brave fight in squash was brought to a painful end when she lost 3-0 in the semi-finals of the singles plate tournament to Mahimia Mitsarani of Sri Lanka. In boxing, the hit squad took another hit as Benson Gisheru lost to Peter McGrath of England in the bantamweight category as the ref stopped the contest in the second round.
Boxing, big disappointment. Benson Gisheru, everybody thought he'll make it. He's been there, done it before, but found it rough. The referee stopping the contest in the second round a few minutes ago.
3 of Kenyan boxers have exited the competition. On Sunday, veteran worker Grace Manjima will be working for her second Commonwealth Games medal, while David Bett, Edward Zakayo and Nicholas Kipkorir will be gunning for gold in the men's 4,000 meters.
Now, Manchester United ruined Manchester City's title celebrations plans by coming from behind to win the Manchester Derby 3-2 in a game of 2 halves at the Etihad Stadium. Earlier, the Merseyside Derby pitting Liverpool and Everton ended 0-0 at Goodison Park, while Tottenham won 2-1 away at Stoke City. Let's catch the breathtaking action from the Etihad.
All trying to go man for man on the edge of the box. United on City. Sane takes company! A poor clearance from De Gea. Sane's onto it. He's got it through for Gundogan. And now here's Sterling. And Gundogan. Ilkay Gundogan too! Closing in! When the opposition dare have the ball.
Hong Kong Cup quarters at about 7 minutes past 7 a.m. Sunday after topping Pool B despite losing their last group match 26-28 to Australia. Kenya were already through to the quarters.